entire vineyard is shut off, so late fall till mid-spring. So you can stay there if you can hear me. But we're looking at our historic cave, which is original to the property. It was first built, or I should say dug, in the 1840s by Count Haraszthy, and he used it as a wine cellar. However, the part that he built or dug has since collapsed. Yeah, you can see it today. If you look way in the back there, the top, you can see some sunlight peeking through, and that's where it collapsed. It used to go back about another 30 feet. The front part that you can see with the limestone was added on in the 1850s by the Peter Cale family. And they put in hardwood floors and plank doors. Can you see the pins in the top, middle? Yep, so they had plank doors and hardwood floors. And believe it or not, they lived in that for a year and a half while they built a house over here. So I would think it'd be a tough Wisconsin winter, but they seem to survive and prosper pretty well. But anyway, if you turn around, we do have a pretty nice view here overlooking the Wisconsin River Valley. And this vineyard was selected over 150 years ago, partially because of this. The river valley does minimize the weather extremes here, so it's just a little bit warmer in the winter, just a little bit cooler in the summer than other areas. Plus, this is one of the driest areas of Wisconsin. Our award-winning winemaker, he'll tell you that the grapevines don't like wet feet. So in addition to being on a slope, which provides very good sunlight, it also provides good drainage and airflow. Compound that with the fact that the soil here is very poor. It's a rocky, gravel, limestone. It is not that black, thick, rich soil that you'd expect to grow corn or wheat or oat in. So other crops would probably struggle to grow here, but the grapes thrive here, and it makes very good wine. We have 26 acres of grapes extending from this side of the Rock Top Hill to the white barn over there, and you saw on the way up, walking up to the winery, that we're planning down towards the parking lot as well. We have 4 varieties of grapes that they grow for production. 2 of them are reds. They're a French-American hybrid, the Leon Mio and the Maréchal Foch. This is the Foch grape we're standing by right here. And then we have 2 white varieties. And the white varieties are more around the side of the building on the flatter slopes. And the 2 white varieties are the St. Pepin and the La Crosse. It takes about 4 years for a grapevine to produce fruits of good enough quality to make the wine. And during that time, they spend a lot of, well, not me, but the vineyard manager and the winemaker, they spend a lot of time chairing that trunk and creating that fruit zone. And you saw in the video how they're pruning back 80 to 90% of those shoots in the spring. And they do very aggressive pruning because they're trying to put all the energy from the plant into making the best cluster of berries possible. When, if you let this grow naturally, it's a descendant of the ivy. Grapevine will grow way out, make huge arbors, and touch its friends, and not really be interested in making nice clusters of berries, and that's what we want it to do. So you saw in the video how they're doing that, and like these plants that you're standing next to, they're probably 15, 16 years old. So, and they're pretty small. You know, had they grown out, they'd be 30 footers and huge arbors. But that's the reason for the aggressive pruning. Grapevines are kind of like people, and they mature at different times. And sometime in that 25 years of age to 40 years of age is when they're optimally producing. But it's not like, you reach 41 and get yanked out of the ground and you're done. As long as you keep producing, they keep you around. And there's lots of cases that they're producing 50 to 90 years, and in some rare cases, even over 100. So it's not an annual crop that you plant in the spring and they harvest in the fall. But this is where it all starts. And so they do spend a lot of time out here. They monitor this very closely. We have a year-round vineyard manager. And then, of course, you saw in the video during the production or the harvest, they do hire about 60 to 80 additional people because they hand-pick all of these grapes. So there's a lot of labor involved. Our oldest grapes are about 38 years old, and they're off here to your left, up in that steepest part of the slope at the top. And Bob Wollersheim planted those in '72. And our youngest vines you passed on the walkway up today, and they're about 2 or 3 years old, so they're kind of in training. We are in the northern climate, I'm sure everyone realizes that. But there are certain varieties of grapes we just can't grow here. I'll talk more about that when we get back down to fermentation. But we do have to import grapes from both Washington State and New York State. So I don't know if you caught it in the video, but both of the families that came before the Wollersheims, eventually all of their grapes did freeze out. So, and we still have that problem. We still experiment with different varieties, and some work and some don't. So. Anybody got any questions? Yes?
What's the significance of the rose bushes?
Great question. And actually, historically, they're kind of like the canary in the cage that the miners would take down into the cage, because the rose bushes get the same fungus that the rose bushes or the grapevines get, except they get it early. So if you see your rose bushes having trouble, the vineyard manager would know that we have to start getting some spray or checking out the. Now, and you might be able to see it today. Yep. If you look way over there, just a little to the right of the barn, you can see like a post sticking up with a fancy metal contraption on it. That's a fancy weather gauge that tells you humidity and blah 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 blah. And so the rose bushes are really are a little outdated. So I can't even tell you what that can all do out there, but it can tell you a lot more than the rose bush can. And but so they're just here for your enjoyment and the beauty.
Are you grafting or are you using the original rootstock?
They're using they buy the rootstock a couple years old.
Okay.
You could graft, and I know that one of the vineyard production guys takes trimmings and then grows it off of that, but it takes longer. So if they do need to do a replacement, they'll buy it with the roots and whatnot. Good question. Any others?
Are these grapes that you used to grow wild in Wisconsin?
No, both of the reds are a hybrid. That means that they're developed to grow in a northern climate. Most of those hybrids come out of like horticultural programs at a university, and I think these came out of the northern Minnesota, University of Minnesota. But no, so none of these are a natural wild grape, although there are some.
There are. So Wisconsin has had some.
Yeah, native grapes, yes, but these aren't. But so, good question again. Any others? All right, please follow me down to fermentation then.